So according to the forecast, it looks like it's going to be another rainy, moody night here in Bangkok, which is alright with me. I got some new film that I want to try out. This is the Kodak Vision3 cinema film. I'm going to pair it with the Japanese XPan Fujifilm TX1. Never shot this film before. I'm going to try it at night. I'm going to push it 2 stops, shoot it handheld, see how it goes. I'm going to head out in a couple of hours once the sun sets and hopefully the rain arrives. Also gonna bring this Ricoh GR3, mainly because, well, one, I don't want to only have a film camera with me, but also because I find the first 10-15 minutes of shooting are usually never that successful for me. So I'm gonna use this one to kind of warm up my senses, and then hopefully the film photos that I take with the XPan are gonna be more successful, so I don't end up wasting too much of this precious film. I walked around my neighborhood for like 10-15 minutes, but I was getting absolutely nothing, so I decided it was time to head to my favorite part of Bangkok, the Chinatown. And I took these random photos out of the window, rainy, moody photos out of a moving car. A very cliche thing to do, but again, I'm just trying to get in the mood. So these are all digital photos with the Ricoh, like I said earlier. When I arrived, I kept taking some photos with the Ricoh. All these photos are too busy, not really anything special. They're not working. It's probably not the best idea to shoot a city like Bangkok with a 28mm wide angle lens, because these photos are too busy. You gotta isolate subjects to make them more minimal and more, you know, artistic or complete, at least in my eyes. But a few of these photos are at least alright in my book. It gives me a few ideas to shoot with the film camera. By this time the sun is almost entirely down, and I feel like I can actually take some photos with the XPan now. The first scan that I got back, my first thought is, wow, that is very blue. Now, it was still blue hour when I took this first shot of the roll, but even so, all of these photos are very cold in white balance. This is the way that I got them out of the lab. I don't think the lab does too much color grading. I could be mistaken, but they've been very good about that in the past, so I think it's just the color white balance that is set in the film itself. Now, I've shot cinestill before, which is supposed to be the same temperature film, tungsten light film, but this feels even colder. I don't do much editing for my film photos, usually it's just things like cropping or white balance adjustments, so this is just how the film looks. Many of these shots are again kind of on the limit of exposure or a little bit underexposed. Really pushing the limits of shooting an f4 lens in the dark handheld, so not all of these worked out. And even when the exposure is fine, there is a lot of grain, probably something to do with the fact that I'm shooting this pushed 2 stops. That said, I'm not sure how I feel about the look of this film yet. Usually I like grain in film. These I'm not sure about. It may be that I'm really just pushing it a bit too much. It may simply be too dark for this film and camera lens combination. More experimentation needed. This shot, even though it's a bit dark, it is my favorite of the night, and it is kind of similar to the one that I took with the Ricoh earlier, so perhaps influenced by that idea. It was kind of a slow night for me. The photos weren't coming easy. It was kind of a struggle to even finish the one roll of film. A lot of the time I just spent walking around looking at things, trying to think of shots, but not really coming up with anything. This one again, kind of a similar composition or scene as the previous one, but I like how the girl and I guess the family is lit up, and the nice backdrop. Here's the same guy I took a photo of last time I was in Chinatown, if you see my previous video about the XPan Storm photo shoot. Sometimes you see a nice car and you gotta take the photo even if the composition is not ideal, because the car's not gonna wait for you, obviously. And this is also a good example of the difference between cinestill and Kodak Vision3. With cinestill, these reds would have been halated, but with Kodak Vision, they are not. Here's a photo I took in Hong Kong a long time ago for comparison. Okay, a brief explanation of what Kodak Vision3 actually is, because up until a few weeks ago I was also quite confused by this film. So Kodak Vision3 is Kodak's motion picture cinema film used to record various different movies. And to shoot with that 35mm stills camera, there's these random entrepreneurs who basically take the cinema film and put it in a 35mm cartridge. I got mine off of Lazada, which is basically the Amazon for Asia, and you can see that somebody just took a Portra cartridge and put a sticker on it and then put the Kodak Vision inside. There's many different small brands. I guess the most known Kodak Vision brand is Silver Salts, but really it is all the same stuff. Then cinestill is almost the same stuff, except they took out one layer called remjet, and remjet layer is what causes those halations from reds and warm tones to disappear. Cinestill removed it in order to make this film easier to develop, because now to develop this regular Kodak Vision3 you have to use a different chemical that is not usually available in, you know, the most basic film labs. So if you actually want to develop this film, you gotta ask the lab if they can actually do it. If they use the regular equipment, it's gonna ruin their equipment and the film. So cinestill thought, let me just take out that one layer and then it can be developed normally. But that is the main difference between these two films. Here's a spot that I thought had potential. I was waiting for someone to step into the light on the right side, but it was such a quiet night that it would have taken so long that I decided to give up on it eventually. Now these are some of the skills street photographers have to think of all the time. Have to pick your spots intelligently so you don't waste too much time, but at the same time often the best photos do come from being really patient and picking a really nice spot. And this time I think I probably made the right decision. This photo had some potential, but at the same time I don't think it would have been good enough to justify waiting the required time. It would have taken 2 or 3 hours. But who knows what would have happened if I'd waited long enough. These are the kind of underrated skill sets that don't really get talked about that often in street photography, but are really important. Often the difference between a really good photo and an okay photo is just being patient enough and not being satisfied with the average results. But at the same time, if you pick the wrong spot, you may end up wasting basically the entire time. And then if you're limited in time, or you're trying to take, you know, something like rainy photos, for example, well, the rain is not going to last the entire time. So you really do have to make the right decision if you want the ideal results. I kept shooting for a bit. The rest of the shots didn't really turn out. They were either boring or underexposed. And this shot here demonstrates why I don't really vlog more. My hands are kind of full. Trying to use my Japanese see-through umbrella to create a photo, but it's of course out of focus. And that was it for this shoot. Okay, to sum it up, I'm not sure what I think of this film yet. I'm starting to think that the XPan is simply probably not the best night photography camera, and I'm not sure if film photography is the best thing to do at night. I definitely gotta try this film more. I only shot 20 photos, which is one roll, but with the XPan the photos are longer, so it gives you 20 exposures instead of the standard 36. So the sample size for this film is still relatively small. That said, there is a couple of decent shots there. I definitely gonna do a daytime shoot with this film and see what I can do. But also, Bangkok is simply not the most ideal city for these kind of photos, unfortunately. It's just all the cockroaches and the scenes are so busy and just not ideal for my type of photos. I might be taking a trip sometime soon. No confirmations yet, but there's some places in the world that are starting to open up. So hopefully I'll be able to do more active behind the scenes vlogs soon. Stick around for that. Make sure to subscribe and like and leave me a comment. And thank you very much for watching this video.